Hello everybody, it's your boy Kyle Ott from Magic Stew. Welcome. If it is your first time here, hello, how are you doing? If you are one of our returning viewers, welcome back. I'm pumped to see you guys, and we're back with some more EDH content. I know it's been a while since we've done this, but if you haven't yet, check out our earlier videos. We did budget staples for every single commander deck and some budget sleepers for Esper. Today, we are going to be doing budget sleepers for Jund, and for those of you who have sat across from me at your local game store, know that I am a huge proponent of the Jund Commander Pie. I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. Love big dragons, love giant zombies, love mana acceleration, so it's all the things that I really enjoy. So I'm really excited about this. However, before we jump into it, two very quick announcements. Again, I would like to remind everyone that our Community Draft Cup starts Saturday, May 5th at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. And if you're interested in taking part in that, you can sign up, shoot an email to the email below in the description. It's datdraftdoh@gmail.com. So please, again, if you're interested in taking part in this wonderful little community tournament that we're putting on, make sure that you send an email to us. Not only that, however, there is a small change in the format. I noticed this due to a couple comments that I got, not online but in person, about the Esper Commander video. People thought it was a little too scattered. I was mostly going for cards that I enjoyed or thought were fun to play, but I think there was a general lack of focus. This is something that was brought up to me, and it's something that I think is a fair critique of that video as well. General lack of focus in the way that we approached, well, the way that I approached, not we, the way that I approached that video. So in settling down and looking at the budget sleepers for Jund, and going forward for all of these, I'm going to, get situated a little bit here. Moving forward for all of our budget sleepers for EDH videos, I am going to be looking at what weaknesses that a color pie traditionally has, a color slot traditionally has, and what strengths that I can make better by selecting these cards. So hopefully, with that in mind, I will be able to sort of move forward and make your commander deck better with a renewed sense of zeal and focus. So with that out of the way, let's just jump right into it. Our first two cards are going to address one of Jund, and green and black and red have this traditional weakness where they lack good card draw. White actually has quite a few cantrips that sort of have like draw a card attached to them, or searching for certain types of cards, for example, or gaining incidental card advantage in other ways. Green in particular lacks that, and so I really wanted to find two budget staples that address that in spades, and I found those in Greed and Path of Discovery. Now, Greed is about $1.30 right now, and it is sitting pretty at that, which is, to say not a whole lot of money to spend on a card called Greed. The irony is strong, which is excellent. But for 1 black mana, you pay 2 life and you draw a card at instant speed. This is fantastic. This is a reoccurring card draw engine in a deck, in a color combination, I should say, that often wants to look for pieces of its win condition or search for board wipe so that the field is ready and more prepared to do for whatever their win condition would be. Path of Discovery works in a similar way. This is actually something that I have been looking to add to all of my token-based Jund decks for quite some time. So Path of Discovery says that whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you get to explore. And that is absolutely amazing, because this means that you can essentially draw all of the lands off the top of your deck, or, which is just a card draw engine, or, if you're a deck that's reliant on the graveyard, you can just take every single non-land card on top and then just bin it, and then set it up for some sort of ridiculous combo, or say something for, let's say, if you're doing Gitrog Monster, if you are trying to set up Delirium for your cards, if you are trying to make your Tarmogoyf bigger, if you're looking for something to bring back with something along the lines of Unearth or Unburial Rites. I guess not Unburial Rites, that's a black-white card. Whoops. Raise Dead, something along those lines. Exhume, any of those sort of graveyard combo pieces. And this triggers with every single token that you make. So traditional Jund staples like Sprouting Trinax or Ophiamancer, or if you're like me and you play Prosh and you make 6 tokens and you get 6 Explore triggers, you're going to be drawing a lot of cards and binning a lot of cards. So if that's something that your deck is looking to do, Path of Discovery is great. And the greatest thing about it, this is probably the best card on our list, it also happens to be one of the cheapest. It is 60 cents right now. That's right, 60 cents for Path of Discovery, which, like Greed, is a reoccurring card advantage engine. Both of these cards are phenomenal. I would highly recommend them if you are finding yourself lighter on resources than you would like while playing Jund. Again, these address that traditional Jund weakness of we need a reoccurring card engine, and I think that these do very, very well. I thought about Phyrexian Arena as well as a replacement to Greed. However, this is a budget list, of course, and unfortunately, I couldn't beat Greed's $130 price tag. Moving forward, I want to talk about something that boosts those token-based Jund decks that much more, whether you're making Saberlings or Squirrels or Kobolds, and that's Ganda Petroglyphs. This is a Future Sight rare, and I think that's probably why not a lot of people know about this card or use this card. Future Sight was a very strange set and a very odd footnote in Magic's history. A lot of people didn't enjoy the card frame or were put off by the wildly intricate rule set that was a part of that block. I myself particularly loved the block. But again, there's a reason I think that some people missed this and missed cards like Ganda Petroglyphs, which simply says creatures with no abilities get +2/+2. Obviously, this adds some very interesting things to your token-based decks. Your Saberlings, your 1/1s, suddenly become 3/3s. If you wind up making other types of tokens, let's say, for example, you Pteranodon one of your own permanents for whatever reason, you'll have a 5/5 elephant token instead. Frankly speaking, it is absolutely amazing to have access to a card like Ganda Petroglyphs that turns every single one of your usually nonchalant, sort of like incidental value tokens into a force to be reckoned with. Truly, this is one of the most enjoyable cards to play. It's also one that, again, a lot of people don't thoroughly enjoy. So another piece that I thought was very interesting for those decks that are looking to use Jund as a kind of combo engine is Horde of Greed. And Horde of Greed reads, whenever a player plays a land, they draw a card. This is excellent. You can do a ton of cool stuff with this, not only to draw cards for yourself, but also put your opponent in odd situations. Obviously, I'm thinking along the lines of using things like fetch lands and evolving wilds to sort of gain more incidental value from Greed, from Horde of Greed than your opponents would get. But this also works very well with stuff like Kodama's Reach or Cultivate, or Crop Rotation necessarily if you're looking to get a ton of incidental value. And for decks like that are running cards like Gitrog Monster, which I bring up quite a bit because it's a card that I have learned to respect and fear in the EDH table. This is an excellent card, and it's certainly one that it's not one that I have played a ton with, but at 80 cents, I feel like it is a card that is waiting to sort of be busted wide open. I understand that you are giving your opponents a little bit of incidental advantage, but like most decks, if you build your deck to take better advantage of effects like Horde of Greeds, your opponents, even if they are getting a little bit of value, will be unprepared for the onslaught. So definitely something that I wanted to talk about here. And again, at 80 whole cents, it was one of those things that I really feel like this is a speculative commander pick, but it's one that I enjoy quite a bit. Not last. I wanted to talk about another thing as well, which is counterspells. A lot of Jund decks will traditionally play very large creatures. Whether or not you were sleeving up a big green fatty or a giant black demon or a huge red dragon, chances are you may run afoul of a blue mage. Counterspells have long been the bane of existence of everyone who wants to play big creatures. And I was trying to think of a way to mitigate that, but also mitigate it without having to put in a card that wasn't a threat in and of itself. I want my Jund decks to be overflowing with beef, to put it nicely. I want my decks to be full of big creatures. I thought about perhaps adding Prowling Serpapard, the recent inclusion from Amonkhet. into this deck, but I realized that that probably wasn't as high impact as I would have enjoyed. So I finally settled on Spellbreaker Behemoth, which is a 4-mana 5/5. That's largely why he's on this list, and he can't be countered, and he stops your creatures from being countered. He is just a good old-fashioned fatty with a great ability that hoses blue mages, and I think that's a great thing to have in any Jund deck. And again, part of my reason for selecting him is he is 59 cents. 59 cents means that you can, tell your opponent's cryptic commands, their remands, their counter spells, their pact of negations. When it comes to your creatures, they can get that garbage out of there. You don't even need to worry about it anymore. 59 cents, and you get to laugh off their $27 cryptic command. It's beautiful. Plus, with a name like Spellbreaker Behemoth, I feel like if you're playing Commander, you should be playing giant epic creatures, or things that sound like giant epic creatures. Maybe that's just me, but that's okay. Last but certainly not least, I wanted to address what is not a weakness of this color pie, but is sort of becoming one because of price. Whether or not anyone wants to admit it, Damnation has not had a reprint in a long time, and that is by far and away probably the best black board wipe spell, if not one of the best board wipes of all time. And it's a very exorbitantly expensive card. A lot of Jund decks want Damnation. A lot of decks that play black period want Damnation. And red and green are not exactly well known for having mass board wipe at an affordable price. In blue, you have stuff like Evacuation. In white, obviously, you've got Wrath of God and Rout and Cataclysm and Terminus, and honestly, they're just lousy with board wipe spells. And the red-black-green combination is kind of lacking that, particularly at an affordable price, especially because Damnation, I think, is the best option in this group. So I wanted to talk about two different cards that I really enjoyed. One of them is a little pricier than another, and one of them is the true budget option, but it sort of makes up for that with a little bit of flexibility. So the first one I want to talk about is Mizzium Mortars. This is certainly leaning a little more heavily on the red side of things, but at about 24 cents, I think having the option to have a 2-mana sorcery speed spot removal spell that also doubles as a deal 4 damage to everyone else's creatures but yours is insane. I understand that, again, this is a much heavier red requirement, but at 24 cents and with the flexibility of having it as a spot removal option, I feel like that makes up for it a little bit. I know you're getting what you pay for, but for 24 cents, the flexibility and having access to the board wipe, if you've got that extra red mana, I think is very stellar. The other option, and one that I think is slept on, although this is one of the more expensive cards that I've ever put on one of my lists. It's still under the $5 mark, but Blasphemous Act from the original Innistrad block is sitting at about $4.19. And I actually think it's one of the better and most slept on board wipes that I've seen. Having access to a 13 damage against all creatures board wipe spell that gets cheaper the more creatures are on the board, I think is amazing, especially because in Jund you are a lot of times trying to make big epic things happen. And a lot of big epic things, whether they are spells or creatures, cost a ton of mana. So a lot of times you are torn between killing everything on the board and then maybe playing your big creature. But if you can get Blasphemous Act out for 3, maybe 2, maybe even 1 mana, depending on how many people are in your game, and then you can follow that Blasphemous Act up with a blasphemous play of like your giant commander or a ton of tokens or a slew of really big creatures, I think it's an excellent addition to any Jund deck. This was a bulk rare for a while. I'm not sure when this shot up in price, but at $4.19, it's still under the $5 mark, so I would still consider it budget, and I would also consider it an excellent inclusion in any Jund deck. Well, that's going to do it for me, folks. 7 budget sleepers for a Jund deck. Let me know what you thought about the new format. Let me know if you'd like to join us for our community draft on Saturday, May 5th, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, all that wonderful YouTube stuff. And I will see you later